Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aries energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives. Because in people's Aries energy, just like all the other zodiac signs, we have lessons to learn. And some people have learned some more lessons than some other people. And they might temper their more fiery nature, which can be, just like the other signs, we've got our more shadowy nature. We can be bossy, controlling, egotistical, lazy, immature, more about ourselves, bossy, controlling, want reward without effort, or we haven't been enlightened to the truth that love is the answer. And love is what makes all things worthwhile. And some people haven't learned those lessons yet, and they deal with some of those other issues. So some people have learned those lessons, and they're more tempered in they temper their more worldly, beastly nature. And, maybe more balanced, more inspired in hope and faith and belief in love than some other people. So how they're going to be harnessing this energy right now will be differently depending on where they're currently at in their life. And this might be something that some people don't struggle when I talk about the shadowy aspects of it because they've already worked through it. Other people, it might be more of a struggle, some of these issues we talk about, because there's still things that they struggle with, And some people completely could be shadowy and they're okay with it and having a ball, they could think, right? And we all tap into Aries energy, so it might more affect people who are an Aries sun sign or have significant Aries placements, but it's Aries energy at large, and we all kind of tap into it. And Aries energy has to do with the self. Are we more about ourself again, or have we learned these lessons? Because high vibe Aries energy is the emperor, where you have learned all these lessons in your life to grow and heal and mature yourself and be a good leader in your own life and in the world. And some people just want to look like the boss and have people view them that way, but they're really kind of shadowy and maybe immature. So I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Chariot card, which is Cancer energy, which can have to do with what do we love. Some people like to create an illusion, that's shadowy energy, to create the illusion that they're motivated and inspired by love, but it could be more so people will be in friendship and relationship with them so they look victorious and successful, because that's what the Chariot can talk about. Other people really are who they say they are, and they really are motivated and inspired by love, and they've learned to love themselves, and they've gotten balanced within themselves. They've offered love to themselves, because Aries energy is about the self, to temper their more immature, egoic nature with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And in high vibe, the Chariot talks about being balanced from a place of love. And those people move forward kind of victoriously and successfully because they've been illuminated to the truth. I need to maintain balance within myself. I need to know how to love myself and maintain balance so I can offer truth and love to other people, be a good leader in the world. At the heart of the reading is the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. What do we think is just and fair? The people who think it's just and fair to be more about themselves and the ego and the image, well, they think that's just and fair. And of course, the people who are more inspired by love, they think that's just and fair. And it kind of in a way, it's just and fair for everybody because that's where they're at. That's how they view life. Just like when we were 18 years old and living life like an 18-year-old, was that just and fair for us to live our life like that? Yeah, that's where we're at. When we know better, we do better. And it's kind of like a phase of life. It's just that sometimes we can know people, say you're hanging around a bunch of 35-year-olds. Some of those people are more shadowy. And some of those people are more emotionally balanced, inspiring, and loving and encouraging. The shadowy people kind of try to present themselves as being that type of person. And they're kind of hoping that some people won't listen to their intuition, because that's also what the Two of Swords can talk about. And the Two of Swords would mean you have to maintain balance within yourself. Scales of justice. We do best when we maintain balance within ourselves from love, so that we're not more tempted in our more worldly nature to get tipped out of balance, to indulge poor behavior in others or in ourselves because of these things of the world that we want to manifest, right? Or our lust or our greed or our pride or our ego or our fear or insecurity. So the people who listen to their intuition and love themselves, they move forward a little more, some people can look very socially or financially or whatever more victorious and successful, but the people who really love themselves and listen to their intuition and kind of don't keep driving their life off into the ditch out of more shadowy reasons, those people are the people who are going to get justice in their life. It might not be as obvious or as quick as some other people, because other people are acting in a just and fair way from love. They're going about it in the right way. If nothing else, they get justice in the fact that they're balanced within themselves and they're not feeling imbalanced. And at the end of the story, we have the Page of Cups, which can represent all three of the water signs. So right now, it kind of gets down to, what is your truth? What do you love? And people are going to go invest in maybe in what all three of their emotional water sign nature within themselves, their Scorpio, their Cancer, their Pisces. If they're more about themselves, more about the world, we could consider them maybe to be a little more immature or emotionally shallow and superficial. That's what they're going to go invest in, because that is their idea of what they think will make them happy, and they think it's just and fair, or if they want it to be more about them, that's their idea of the dream life. And the Two of Wands right here is Aries energy. What is our dream? What's our idea of the dream life? And for the people who think that way, that's their truth. That's how they think. That's what they're going to go invest their time, energy, and effort into. Other people have kind of went through some stages of life of being more immature, more self-indulgent, more caught up in the world, more about themselves, more about indulging in things to feel better, more about ego and image. And those people have wished that aspect of themselves goodbye. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want my more worldly nature and my fear and my insecurity and my ego and my lust and my greed and my codependent nature and all those things to manipulate me, because I've already been there and I've done it and it didn't turn out the way I wanted. And through that whole experience, I got balanced. I had to get balanced within myself. And I made peace with the fact that I did have growing up and maturing to do, and I did it. I offered love to all of it. Offered love to myself for being a fallible human being. Offered love to other people for being fallible human beings. Some of them are still atrocious people. I accept it. I'm not going to be in my ego about it. Everybody is where they're at. They're going to act the way they act. I can only take responsibility for myself. I can only grow and heal and mature myself. I can't grow and heal and mature other people. I can't change other people. They have their free will. They have kind of what drives and motivates them and why they act the way they act. I get out of my ego about it. I make peace with it, so I can keep moving forward. I have a dream. I accept that my dream can't come into reality with certain people, because our truth of what we kind of think is just and fair and what kind of drives and motivates us and our emotional maturity level and all those things is different. And there's other people in my life that I'm still moving forward with, and other people I'm getting to know to find out if we're more on the same page or not. So, what's going on in Aries energy? We have the World and the Sun and the Six of Cups. Well, the world can talk about that we've all went through experiences where some things didn't work out the way we wanted, right? The world talks about we've all had cycles that have ended in our life. Some people in our life moved forward with us, some people didn't. We wanted to go this way, they wanted to go that way. We were motivated by this, they were motivated by that. And in the seven of wands, it can talk about both the seven of wands and the sun are Leo energy, which can be, we can all kind of be in our ego about it. Something, we had a dream. We wanted justice. We wanted, and the two of wands, or the two of wands and the queen of swords, which is Aquarius energy, um, can talk about I had a dream. And the queen of swords can talk about, the queens talk about how we think and feel. The masculine energies can talk about how we're presenting ourselves in the world and action that we're taking in the world, but how do we really think and feel? So, we all have went through experiences like that and we felt betrayed. And the Six of Cups in Scorpio energy can talk about, some of the people in our life we loved. Maybe some of those people moved on, moved away, passed away. A cycle ended with some people, right? And, we'd all kind of like the things that we had enjoyed or things that we had been working on. We would have liked some of those things to keep moving forward. We maybe liked living our life like that to a degree, right? And then something happened. This seven of wands is like defensive to this. So it's like it's not moving forward anymore. And then the two of swords can talk about that we feel a little stuck. And, we feel a little betrayed. And what do we do when something like that happens? A job didn't work out, a friendship didn't work out, a romantic relationship didn't work out, or some people could have started, maybe initially some people harness these energies in a high vibe way. Leo energy can be that people seem to be loving and encouraging and supportive. And the Six of Cups can be that the sixes can talk about balance also. People were working together with us. We were kind of seemed to be getting along. But then something changed. Instead of harnessing the sun energy, which could be more, things thrive in the sun, things grow in the sun, then people became defensive. And then we can be confused, like, why are they being defensive? It used to be this. Why now is someone being defensive? And so then we can be kind of confused and we can feel a little betrayed. And we might, in the chariot, can talk about moving, right? We could distance ourselves from some people. Well, then we have this card that we might be dealing with. And it could kind of be a roadblock, a stumbling block in a way that we got to work through, because in the Queen of Swords, we have a dream. In the Two of Wands, we have a dream. This one can talk about feeling more betrayed. This one can be feeling inspired again within ourselves. So, but how do we go from feeling betrayed and stuck to kind of moving forward? We offer ourselves love. I don't want to keep staying in these energies. If it didn't work out, and sometimes I don't know why people act the way they act, but everybody's got free will, and everybody has the free will in a relationship to be more just and fair. And high vibe Aquarius could be to look at life from a higher perspective, have some hope and faith and belief in yourself, in your dreams, in others, in love, and to choose love. to look to the future. But looking to the future is, here we have the Virgo Hermit, which can talk about going within, kind of looking at some of those things we kind of keep hidden in the dark, and about growing and healing and maturing ourselves and loving ourselves and working through some of these issues within ourselves that can make us defensive. Some people are defensive to being more just and fair. Some people are defensive to looking at life from a higher perspective. In their Aquarius energy, they could be a little bit more maybe about themselves. Maybe operate a little bit more from their ego nature or their defensive nature or prideful nature, which can be like being manipulative or, and it can be with the shadowy Aries that they could harness in a shadowy way. Maybe they do think it should be more about them. Maybe they are kind of bossy and controlling, but we can get in relationships with people and we don't, the Two of Swords can be, I didn't know that, you know, because generally when we're going to get in a relationship with people, people are going to try to present themselves as harnessing these energies in a more high vibe way. I'm not selfish. I'm not bossy. I'm not more about myself. I'm not more materialistic. I'm not egotistical. I'm not manipulative. I'm not prideful. They try to present themselves as these just and fair and balanced people who are inspired by love, so people will move forward with them, take that job, go into business with them, promote them, be their friend, date them, or marry them, right? But sometimes, it's to try to, they want people and could try, some of the other people aren't moving forward with some of the people who are like that because they were illuminated to the truth. You created the illusion you harness these energies in a more high vibe way, but you don't. And now I'm defensive to continuing to move forward with you. And I'm going to stay back here and you can keep moving forward, living your life whatever way you want with whoever you want. But I'm not going to move forward with you anymore. I initially, in the Two of Swords, didn't know the truth about who you were. But as time went by and I worked together with you in some type of relationship dynamic, I was hoping to move forward in high vibe. The Seven of Wands is, I thought we were going to move forward victoriously and successfully, inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. That would have been something, a victory worth defending. But as I was trying to do that, or some high vibe people were trying to do that in communities and workplaces and friendships and organizations, in family dynamics, as they were trying to do that, looking to the future, listening to their intuition, wanting to move forward to bring this dream into reality, some of the other people were defensive. They harnessed those energies differently. And then it's like, what's going on? Why aren't you moving forward? Well, the difference between the Seven of Wands and the Two of Wands is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands can be that people have this inner conflict that they would need to deal with. That's where they'd have to go within. Why am I defensive? Why am I not moving forward with some people who might be being authentic and truthful and loving and inspiring? Why am I defensive to them? Well, for one, we might have to get out of our defensiveness. Well, people who are defensive for a reason. And, they feel justified in being defensive. And, maybe they move forward with other people and things didn't work out. So they're kind of defensive, to maybe want to take things more slowly. Or, the Six of Cups in Scorpio can be a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. And the fire sign energy and shadow can kind of be where people kind of like to indulge in the relationship. Hey, this is good. Let's stay here. I'm happy with the relationship that we have. I view this as moving forward. I view it as victorious and successful. I'm willing to defend staying in the relationship. Let's just keep doing this. Well, some other people, with the Two of Swords being Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, some people could feel like, well, that was a phase and a stage of a relationship, but I had a dream and I kind of felt like the expectation and I thought we were kind of on the same page. It's just like if you take a job and somebody's like, oh, yeah, you should come work here. There's all this potential. And, you're going to move forward really victorious and successfully. And we're really loving and encouraging and supportive. And then you take the job and you're thinking that's going to happen. And then it's like, it's not happening. Well, same way, kind of like maybe in a relationship, you kind of, there's certain stages and phases of getting to know people and getting to know them as a friend. And then if it's a romantic, that you're going to kind of spend more time with them and date them. But you expect that, it's not going to stay at this phase forever. Just like if you take a certain job that you were expecting, there was going to be, and they maybe implied that there was going to be potential for you to move forward and take on more responsibilities, and therefore, um, as you learn information, that you would be like maybe paid accordingly, right? And then you get in it and it seems to be stuck right here. And it's like, what's going on? I don't understand. And so, if we don't talk about those things, we could have things with people in a workplace or a relationship where we kind of don't want, kind of defensive. The hermit can talk about revealing the truth. We can have a problem kind of revealing the truth about some things that we don't like that are kind of going on that make us feel a little stuck, make us feel a little betrayed, kind of feel like things aren't moving forward the way we thought. And both people could kind of feel that way. Well, I kind of thought you were going to view life this way, and I thought you were going to be motivated and inspired by these things. And the other person's like, well, I thought, you know, we can just assume a lot about how other people think, their idea of the dream life, how they expected things to move forward, because we think how we think. And of course, we think that's just and fair, so we assume everybody thinks that way, but they think the way they think. And then it's like, oh. And so everybody can get to a point where there's situations where people feel defensive and they kind of feel stuck and they kind of feel betrayed, but we might keep moving forward in it and we all could kind of be defensive to revealing the truth. And some people might decide in a situation like that, it really can be confusing. Like, I don't understand. And they could be feeling these ways and they don't understand why they're feeling kind of the way that they feel. And again, you know, sometimes people who are shadowy are really good at wearing a false mask and really good at it's like being a master manipulator, right? And you can't, and it's hard to bring up something because it could maybe seem kind of small or whatever. So you can't really put your finger on it, but there's something wrong. But then people might think, well, maybe it's something within me. Why do I feel this way? Which isn't a bad thing. It's always kind of good to look at yourself first, right? And so some people, because of feeling this way, and they maybe weren't seeing the truth of this card, let's go see what it is. The Temperance card in reverse, that something about it could have seemed kind of out of balance. something about it could have kind of seemed a little immature. Again, everything can look really good. The Aquarius can be that it looks victorious and successful. The Seven of Wands is that it looks like it seems victorious and successful. The Sun and the Chariot, in a lot of ways, it seems like it's moving forward victorious and successful, but it's like, uh, I don't feel balance within myself. Like something about it doesn't maybe align with my truth, but I don't know what it is. So that's when some people would decide, you know what? I don't know what it is, and I don't want to blame other people for how I feel. So I'm going to work through my own issues. Maybe it's something just about me, and I don't want to sabotage this relationship. So I'm going to offer myself this cup of love to work through maybe some issues from my past. The sun can be, I'm going to illuminate and shed light on some issues of my past and kind of like how I might get along with people, how other people get along with me, the people I'm currently working with. And but I would think a big part of it would be that I want to make sure that nothing from my past, like past pain and heartbreak, or in the past feeling betrayed, is what is causing this feeling within me. And so I'm going to work through that. And part of that means that I might have to take some time to do this work within myself and get more balance within myself and work through those issues to get more balance within myself. And that might require me to look at life from the big picture and put things in perspective where I think about the different people in my life and things that could have kind of hurt me or made me feel less than or made me feel rejected or not good enough, or why don't I believe in myself? Why don't I believe in my dreams? Why don't I stand up for myself? Whatever fears and things that I could have, and putting it all in the big picture and looking at it from the big picture that all these people I've dealt with, one time they were young, they had their experiences, then they had children, and then they had me, and then they were in a marriage or a relationship and the things they were dealing with. And as you get older, you can kind of have a little more compassion of why, we as a child can kind of blame everyone else. Like, well, all these things would happen in my life. And if people had been more just or fair or loving or encouraging or had a more meaningful relationship with me or, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I do think it's good to go all through it. I mean, really go vent. Drive in your car, go for a walk at the park where nobody can hear you. And it's like being your own therapist to yourself and vent it all, cry, get mad. It's like feel the feelings. But we can't stay there forever, and it's like, and I can't stay in like a pity me state all my life. I need to wrap my brain around it. And I know that love is the answer. So I'm going to offer love to the fact that, maybe some of the people in my life I could have grown up with or known in my life, maybe some of those people weren't very, they hadn't done this work within themselves. And so they were kind of more defensive or more about themselves or caught up in things they looked to make themselves feel better or more codependent or more immature, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to say, I accept it. And I can't change it. And again, the only person I can change is me. And the difference between the 7 and the 2 is the 5 of Wands. And the 5 of Fives talk about change. I can't change any of that. But I can, in the 6 of Cups, it can talk about if I offer truth and love and compassion to it, just like I offer love and compassion to myself for being a fallible human being who's had to learn these lessons and made these mistakes, and I'm where I'm at, and I've been where I've been. Other people in life have been where I've been. Some of those people kind of overcame some of those things. Some of those people got to where I was at, and Then they stayed there all their life, or they regressed and went back, and some never even got to that point, you know? I offer, just like I offer love and compassion and forgiveness to myself, I offer it to others so I can let it go. And then the Six of Cups can talk about I've made peace with the past. And once I kind of make peace with the past, I work through that, all those things that kind of manipulated me. And our ego nature can be all that past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities, not feeling good enough, not feeling balanced. I can do this work within myself to get more balance within myself. I view High Vibe Leo as I can give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. I have free will. Am I going to give up my dreams and be defensive to loving myself and believing in myself because other people maybe didn't love and believe in me, or they were caught up in whatever they were caught up in? And, I can give up my dreams and quit loving and believing in myself, and I cannot do this inner work to grow and heal and mature myself, or I can. And I choose I can, and that makes me think. I got so much stuff on my table now, but it reminds me of this poem that I have an excerpt of it here. But anyway, I had it on my fridge for like 20 years. I think it's written by a man named Edgar Guest, and it's a poem called Equipment. And it says something along the line that you were born with all that the great have had. With your equipment, they all began. So get hold of yourself and say, I can. You know, there's a lot of people who have it a lot worse than we've ever had it. And those people picked themselves up, didn't give up on their dreams, put our life in perspective in the grand scheme of things. And that's when people decide to stand up for themselves. And I view the sevens as tipping in favor of one way or the other, where some people maybe had put an end, or hadn't even learned to love themselves and hadn't learned to make peace with the past. When they get tired of feeling defensive and feeling stuck and feeling betrayed, seeing other people who work through those things and move on, they finally eventually could get to the point, I got to learn to stand up for myself, and I've got to work through this inner conflict and my ego nature to learn to love myself and to learn to love yourself, because Aries energy is about the self. That can take a long time in our life to be one of the loving and encouraging, supportive people in our life. And I think, again, we don't control the rest of the world. The rest of the world might be harsh and critical and defensive to us. Well, we don't have to join in on the chorus with them. You're right. You shouldn't like me, and I know you should, or we wish those people peace for whatever reason they act that way. And again, if we owe people an apology, we get out of our ego and we give people an apology. Back then I did this and this. Since then, I've learned some lessons in life, and I apologize. And again, that's getting out of your ego nature to harness more high vibe Leo energy. I have been illuminated to the truth. I saw where I needed to grow up and mature myself, and I saw how my fears and my insecurities and my self-limiting beliefs affected me and the decisions I made in my life. And the Page of Cups can be that I was more codependent. I hadn't learned to love myself, and I was looking for other people to love me. But because I kind of hadn't learned to love me, I could be loving to other people, but if other people kind of wanted to treat me that way and treat me the way I treat other people, it's like, oh, well, no. No, that's not how I roll. Because the Six of Cups can also talk about repeating old patterns. Oh no, I'm defensive to people who want to be more authentic and inspired by love, because I'm not used to that. That's like outside my comfort zone. So I defend and get in relationships with people, and we're kind of repeating this pattern because we both might not know how to love ourselves. We both might be more defensive or whatever. And then some of the more maybe just fair balance people in the world at the time moved on from us. And we repeat that pattern until we're like, oh my God, why do I do this? When am I going to love and believe in myself enough to believe I deserve to be in more just, fair, balanced, loving relationships? And again, it can be kind of in our ego, like, oh no, I'm going to try to change these people. Oh, look, I found someone who's more defensive. Oh, look, I found someone who's maybe more, likes to live more from their mind than their heart, might be a little prideful, might be a little defensive, might be a little more materialistically driven, more consumed with themselves or whatever. I'm going to try to change them. Well, we can spend our whole life trying to change other people, or we can be illuminated to the truth that they have their free will. And if that's not really our truth and how we like to live our life, or really have come to realize that we don't really like being around people who are like that. Sometimes it is repeating a pattern of the past where we will be drawn and attracted to people who kind of remind us, subconsciously probably, things hidden in the dark, buried in our subconscious, that kind of could have some traits and characteristics of people where we kind of felt betrayed because they weren't more just and fair and balanced and loving with us. And then this is a different person who kind of reminds us of those people. And now this is someone we can really be in a relationship with, like romantic relationship. And when they see how inspired by love I am, and this isn't that exact same person, but they have some of those same traits and qualities and characteristics, I am sure they will see the truth that they should love me, and they'll get out of defending their more kind of shadowy ways of being. Well, odds are, if they have some of those same traits and characteristics and ways of being, it's because that is their truth also. And, we are and we think and we feel the way we think and feel and believe because we think it's just and fair. But by getting in those relationships with people like that, it can help us work through that wounding in a way. It is kind of the harder way to work through it, but we didn't even kind of know. It's kind of that Scorpio energy, exploring the mysteries of life. And we're these emotionally complex human beings, and we have a lot of things that we don't even know about ourselves, about what influences us and why we feel certain ways, think certain ways. And again, it can be this astrological mix of zodiac sign traits and characteristics. You can meet people that say have a whole bunch of earth sign planetary placements in their chart. They could maybe be very caught up in the world. You could meet people that have a lot of air sign energy, very mental, and could be very smart, could be very intellectual, like to live more from their mind and like exploring the mind. Then you can meet people who have a lot of water sign chart placements in their chart, very emotionally connected, either very loving or very immature. And fire sign energy, again, maybe more immature or maybe very creative and inspired. But it's all this mix. I mean, like everyone is their own little constellational universe of complexity, right? But just to see the truth and accept the truth in a world of duality, which is also kind of how I view the Two of Swords, are people more balanced within themselves between being more about themselves and these things of the world? Are they equally able to maintain balance within themselves and connected in with also being inspired by their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature? And the truth is, some people are defensive to that aspect within themselves. They're more inspired to make their life maybe about themselves or the world. And in their Aquarius energy, then they just don't look at life from a higher perspective and don't think there is any other perspective. We live on the planet. The world tells us to make our life about these things. If we make our life about those things, the world tells us we'll be happy. And we kind of think if we have those things of the world or indulge in those things or have enough of those things, we'll be happy. or will at least look really victorious and successful, and people might view us as victorious and successful, and really it's just all about the ego. And if I look victorious and successful, and other people could be more balanced, where they're like, well, I think, and we live in the world, I want stability and security, and I'd like to be victorious and successful too, but I'm not willing to sacrifice love for it. And other people are like, I don't think love's that important. That shadowy Scorpio. I don't really want to explore myself emotionally. I am emotionally complex. I don't like it. I'm not going there. I've decided to live more from my mind than my heart, and I kind of keep my emotions buried beneath the surface. I use them as I need them, but I don't really think they're that important. That's not my idea of the dream life, to be more balanced and more inspired. I'm inspired by the world or me, and I'm good. But it can be hard for us to want to accept that truth. And that's like a hidden truth of the world. We all know that we all have free will, but it can be really hard for us, people who are more inspired by love, even though you had to grow up and you have your fears and your insecurities and you've done your more immature blah 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 life. It can be if at a core foundational level though you think everybody is motivated and inspired by love. Well, you can keep thinking that, but that's kind of the Two of Swords can talk about that you want to stay in denial of the truth. And that's where you can get in relationships with people where you keep trying to change them. And they have the free will to live their life the way they want. Would you want to be in relationships where people are constantly trying to change you? And some of the people in your life thought you would kind of get out. They could think you're kind of more immature and caught up in illusion and living in fantasy land. You need to get practical and logical. And they could have thought you would defend staying in denial of the truth, of your truth, and make your life more about them and the ego and the image and stay in it more for those worldly reasons. But, Sagittarius energy of the Temperance card could be, are you more motivated and inspired by these things of the world? Or are you more inspired to go on this adventure in life, to look at life as an adventure? And High Vibe Sagittarius is about higher learning and education and wanting to wrap your brain around this game of life. And I have the potential, and I do have this creative, inspired, intuitive, loving nature and hope and faith and belief that I think there's more to work with than just these things of the world. I do think there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to. And just because, we got a lot of things going on in the news right now where some people thought some way of being was just and fair. Well, we can all be in situations where people are acting a certain way, behaving a certain way, treating other people a certain way. We could all kind of get caught up in the crowd and defend poor behavior. And if society, kind of at large, kind of hidden, isn't really standing up against certain ways of behaving or conducting themselves, and they kind of think it's just and fair in different ways, some other people will go along with it too. And, well, I think that's kind of just and fair too. And as long as we keep it hidden, because I certainly want people to view me a certain way. I want people to view me I don't want everybody to know my business, whatever. But other people are like, I'm going to listen to my intuition. If my intuition tells me that some way people are acting or behaving isn't very just and fair, and high vibe energy is being more independent. Well, when you're more independent, we've all went through that, probably at different stages of our life, if nothing else, back in junior high and high school, where other people then will become defensive to you because you're not staying in denial of the truth and maybe letting someone be more bossy, more controlling, more manipulative, more about themselves and wanting everybody to kind of indulge them in their kind of shadowy ways of being. And then, of course, a lot of other people aren't willing to be more independent, and those people will defend those people. And things don't move forward the way they had been moving forward, and people aren't willing to balance things out with people. And it's kind of, am I willing to stand up for my truth or am I not? And there's definitely some people who don't ever want to take more bold and brave and or just even live their more authentic life. That's like high vibe Leo. I don't want to live my more authentic life. I want to defend the world and make my life about conforming to the world. That's what I'm inspired by in my fire sign energy. And I'm going to turn my back on my own truth, maybe, and doing some of the things out of love and maybe a certain friendships or relationships or careers or anything that I would maybe really like to go do because maybe other people would be defensive if I did that. And other people are like, I can't keep hiding my truth. I can't make my life more about conforming to the world. I can't make my life, a shadowy energy can be too where thinking it's about one person or the other is going to have to indulge someone is what some people could think. Maybe whoever has more power, influence, status, image, whoever seems to have more of what some other people could want. I mean, if somebody is, say, attractive in some way, well, there would be some people in the world that would make them the more privileged, pampered person in the relationship, male or female, because that could be really important to them. Other people would treat that person like a normal human being in a relationship. I don't think you have a privileged status in this relationship just because you might be more attractive. And some people it's like, well, I have more social clout, or I have more power, or I have more money, or I have more status or image. It's like, I'm going to let you go be in a relationship with someone else, you know? And then some of those people, that can be just how they view the world. It's a more of an egoic, who has more power, influence, or status or image. They should be the one who's the more privileged person in the relationship. But those people, to really get down to the core of that and understand that about themselves, because they could deny it all day. That's not true. I'm a loving and encouraging, supportive person. I want to be in relationships with people. Yeah, you do unless those people want a more just and fair and balanced relationship. Well, that's kind of a different perspective of a relationship. And it might cause them some inner conflict and they don't want to figure out why. And so then it could be to project all these other reasons onto why they don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with someone anymore. And they never really get down to the truth because they don't want to see the truth. They want to stay in denial of the truth. Some people don't want to see the truth that they're kind of egotistical and more about themselves. Some people don't want to see the truth that they really are more materialistically driven. And they could keep staying in denial of the truth all their life. Some people are getting out of some more mismatched relationships or workplaces or friendships. They did stand up for themselves, wanting more just and fair relationships, didn't want to move away from some of those friendships or jobs or relationships that they were in. But when they were trying to encourage people, High Vibe Virgo is truth and love. And the page is not an aggressive energy. It's just trying to be authentic and honest with people. Can't we work together? Being more just and fair, more balanced? But some people were defensive, and some people, for some people, even if they can be in a relationship, but when they start to feel Like, oh my gosh, I'm almost starting to feel like I'm ready to let down some of my defenses and kind of turn my back on some of these old ways of thinking and viewing life to believe in myself and believe in my dreams and believe in love. And that can be kind of more when their self protected defensive nature comes out. And it's like, that puts me at risk of possibly getting hurt. And I guess some people, don't think they could pick themselves back up if it didn't work out the way they wanted. And so even though some people could be conflicted, it's like, I'd like to go do this, or even like I'd like to go in a career field that I really love, but I don't know that I'd have any money. Or I'd like to move forward with people who are loving and encouraging, but they maybe want me to look at life differently, and they wouldn't be willing to just indulge me, and it can't be more about me, and I can't keep staying defensive, and I'd really have to get more emotionally balanced within myself. And that's kind of temperance energy can be where people, sometimes people who are shadowy, I think they're just constantly always trying to balance out their emotions because they can kind of want what other people want in the world, but their fear or their defensiveness or not trusting people, coming out from behind their protective, egoic, false mask. It's kind of like they keep their authentic nature hidden. Their authentic self looks out through the eyeballs, but their ego nature runs their life. And they don't let their more authentic, vulnerable nature out to play in the world. And they hope, as they're in relationships with people, that the people they're in a relationship with won't start to listen to their intuition and see the truth that their dream really isn't going to come into reality with them. If their dream was to be in a relationship where people were more authentically inspired to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, inspired by love, that's not going to happen. The other person creates the illusion that's what they're motivated and inspired by, but it's kind of more like a mental construct. I act like this, I talk like this, I behave like this, but all these things to create the illusion, but I'm not really doing that. And the other people that they could get in relationship with are. And the problem is, eventually, even though those people don't want to see the truth, that is what's kind of keeping the relationship not balanced because there really isn't equal give and take. One person, again, it can come across in shadowy fire sign energy that they harness within themselves, that they're kind of more indulging themselves in the relationship. And it is kind of more about them in their self protective nature and not really more authentically investing themselves in it. And eventually it can start to seem more superficial and shallow, and that it is more for the ego and the image and the status and how it benefits them. And then I think because they know they think that way and that kind of is their truth, that if they're moving forward with people who are wanting them to work through some of these issues and free themselves from these things that manipulate them, they could decide, I really didn't want to do love anyway. And shadowy Scorpio, I want to be in a relationship and enjoy a relationship, but um, I'm not going to do a deep, meaningful relationship anyway. So it's like I'm going to have sex with someone. I think I could let you go. I'll go get in a relationship and have sex with someone else because really it's more just about having sex. It's not a deep, meaningful relationship that grows and matures over time because they're defensive, but they don't want to see the truth of it. So, again, they view themselves And in a lot of ways, they can be kind of a just and fair and loving and encouraging person in the world, but they just don't really do love, you know? And it's, I don't know, it's like bad chocolate, fake chocolate. It's not as good as other chocolate, right? Or whatever you want to compare it to. Not like homemade apple pie, more like the kind maybe that you get somewhere else. I don't know, something, whatever you want to equate it to. And they kind of see that other people have kind of seen through the illusion, and those people aren't willing to give up their dream of being in more authentic, emotionally balanced relationships of their dreams. And they kind of thought, because they gave up that dream, they thought you'd give up that dream since you gave up making your life more about yourself, or being bossy or controlling, or having to be the center of attention, or more about you, or being in it more for the status or the ego or the image of it. You thought they would let go of that too, but some people in our life won't because that's not their truth. So then people see the truth of it. They do this work within themselves. I have my dream, you have your dream. And high vibe people make peace with it. They had to mourn it, grieve it, be angry about it, but they opt for love to it. They know that is the answer to freeing themselves from feeling stuck and continuing to feel betrayed. And then those people move forward, and they, because they realize my dream couldn't come into reality with that person because our truth is different. And they were hiding, because again, shadowy people know that some people want to be in relationships more for love, and they create the illusion, but they were hiding the truth that they're only willing to offer a little bit, use them in a more superficial way. Maybe not become a knight of cups, a queen of cups, a king of cups, or an emperor, you know? And so they kind of stay more emotionally immature in a relationship out of being more about themselves or more caught up in the world or their defensive nature. So then the high vibe people who see the truth of it are able to close out that cycle. No longer in their ego about some people from their past. They learn to stand up for themselves and believe in themselves. No longer want to get in relationships and have learned to listen to their intuition as they move forward about other people who seem to kind of maybe have that same viewpoint. And there's some people in their life they have no interest in trying to balance things out with anymore. And they're done balancing out their emotions, kind of indulging people who are like that. I'm inspired by truth and love. I'm going to make these gestures to people as I move forward, and I'm going to kind of listen to my intuition about the different people that I meet as I move forward in my life, of who is who they say they are, and who emotionally, they might present themselves like, yes, we should be friends, yes, you should date me, you should marry me, but who are they really? And then the pages can also mean like kind of keeping people in the friend zone, acquaintances, until you really get to know people, until your intuition tells you, I think this person's telling me the truth. I think this person is who they say they are. I think this is someone I can move forward with and maybe then be more, you could also look at the pages as being more authentically yourself with. We have, we can be social acquaintances with people, but we don't let maybe be more of our authentic, more vulnerable nature with some people because we don't have that type of relationship with them. And the people who we think are currently in our life and have been moving forward with us that way, we keep moving forward with them in that way. And some people kind of fall out of our life as time goes by because and there too, sometimes people can change over time and different things come up, and it's like, well, I'm not sure what it is. I can do tarot to try to figure it out, but Not everybody's more prideful and egotistical. Sometimes other people have other people in their life that should be the priority in their life, and maybe they're not. Maybe they got some things going on there that, when they're comfortable to reveal it, they'll reveal it. Maybe they never will. Shadowy Leo energy can be where people kind of maybe get a little jealous or envious. When some people have worked through some things that could have manipulated us all at one point in time in our life with different people in our life. And that's kind of could have been uh, a common ground that we had, you know? And then if some people work through some of those issues that it doesn't manipulate them the way it used to, well, then it again, it's kind of like we're on different pages. It's like, but again, and some people could be mad. Well, why'd you go work through some of those things and kind of free yourself from it? I wanted us to be in relationship or friendship, but you kind of look at life differently than you did then. It's kind of like you're not the same person that you were. And now I don't know that I want to hang out with you because you don't want to maybe do the same things that we used to do or hang out and, or even just think and feel and view life the way you used to view it? But cycles are ending. Some because some people are repeating some poor past patterns, and some other people see the truth of it and they're going to move away from those people. Again, we can offer people truth and love and encouragement, but if people time after time keep choosing to want to keep being defensive, not wanting to deal with the truth, maybe be egotistical or full of themselves or blame everyone else for their problems, eventually other people are going to get tired of it. And, you know, there's going to be some people that, as things change, people could have been kind of confused about, because sometimes people, shadowy energy can be where people try to manipulate people, and that can be try to confuse people about the truth, hide the truth. Um, and people feel kind of stuck and kind of defensive, like, I don't know. And people could be going through that. Other people who've already went through that, kind of as time goes by. The people who take some time to kind of maybe watch and observe, kind of see, and I guess the people who kind of listen to their intuition and kind of see different actions that people have taken, they might feel like some people did try to manipulate them. And the people who were trying to manipulate definitely don't like that people are starting to listen to their intuition. And maybe some of the people who at one time had defended them are now moving away from them. Because again, people who try to create an illusion about the type of person they are and try to manipulate people and, oh, I would never do that and I wouldn't act like that and that person's lying and that person isn't who they say they are, blah blah blah. But as time goes by, that can be like, as people go through this cycle, at the end of the cycle there's always going to be people who, no matter what, are going to align with more worldly shadowy people. And some people who could have fallen for the manipulation and then start to kind of see through the confusion and the manipulation. And, it's like, hey, I guess if some people could be, if I feel like you tried to manipulate me and lied to me, people don't like being lied to and manipulated. And some of those people, can be socially friendly with people, but it's kind of like, I saw through the illusion. I don't buy into it anymore. And then those people could feel kind of stuck because they did try to manipulate people and lied to people. But And the high vibe people is like, people are going to think what they think. I'm just going to move on and live my life. And the people who don't listen to their intuition, people who are caught up in illusion of people will be. And I believe eventually the world will be illuminated to the truth. But there'll always be people who want to stay in denial of the truth no matter what. And I'm not the boss. That's like shadowy Aries energy. I know I'm not the boss. I believe there's higher forces at play, and I think the truth gets revealed in time. In the meantime, I'm going to go enjoy my life. You keep doing that. Keep staying in denial. Keep being defensive. Keep being more about yourself or more about the world or whatever. And I'm going to go live my life. And the people who want to move forward with me in that way, who kind of work through their own fears and insecurities and defensiveness and some of the illusions and get in the driver's seat of their own life and love and believe in themselves. And I'm not trying to manipulate and control people, and other people aren't trying to manipulate and control people. And you see the difference between people and who really is more being authentic and not trying to manipulate, and who is trying to manipulate. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Aries energy that they might not see coming? The Star card, the Six of Cups, and the Tower. Why? Because of the Ace of Wands. Because the high vibe people are inspired because they have this dream, they look at life from a higher perspective. And that helps them reconcile themselves with some issues of the past that previously the Tower can be, it stops you. It previously stopped people from taking more inspired action in their life because of some of these issues in their past that kind of rattled their foundation. And it could have been being more caught up in themselves, more caught up in other people, caught repeating past patterns. But the high vibe people in the Tower, they see the truth. The truth sets us free. People had been stuck, people had been kind of defensive. You know what? I'm going to have some hope and faith, go with the flow, listen to my intuition, treat other people the way I like to be treated, and I think I'll see the truth of who's on that page, and who's defensive to that. And some people could be doing that right now in a relationship, just like some other people did in a relationship. I'm going to listen to my intuition. I'm going to humble myself, again, because you got to get out of your ego. I'm going to humble myself to deal with people in an emotionally balanced, loving way, speak my truth, that I might want to move forward with some of those people, but if they keep being defensive to it, I'm not going to keep staying in denial of the truth. How we want to move forward is different. And I accept the truth of it. And that's getting out of my ego about it. And I'm going to move forward investing in my dream. They can invest in their dream. And as you do that, and you see other people doing what they're doing and seeing what you're doing, it helps you work through it because you kind of see more of the truth. They do want to repeat certain patterns, ways of living life, viewing life, that you don't want to repeat those patterns. Just like high vibe people want to, their dream is to be in more deep, meaningful relationships that aren't just more about being in a relationship to be in a relationship or for the status or the ego or the image. Wanting an emotionally balanced, loving relationship where people put in work and effort to have stability and security in their life and move forward in an emotionally balanced way, kind of the best of both worlds. And some other people want people to sacrifice more of that because they make theirs more about them or the world or whatever. And the other people are like, I'm not going to do it. But you can do that with someone else. That's your idea of the dream life. I found out that was not my dream life. And I see the truth of it. And you're going to have this new beginning. When we quit investing more of our time, energy, and effort into people who aren't on the same page as us, it frees us up to invest our time, energy, and effort to go find more of the people in the world who are more on the same page as us. And as you're not indulging yourself in lust, greed, pride, ego, codependency just to feel better, other people see that and they see the truth of your foundation and they could view you as someone they would like to get to know better. And in the Tower card, it could be kind of surprising. It could be surprising to some people in your life who maybe thought you wouldn't love and believe in yourself that you really have closed out a cycle. And if they were trying to manipulate you by being defensive to you and acting in whatever kind of ways, thinking you'd come back and do it the way they wanted, some of those people are seeing the truth. You're not coming back. You're not going to repeat that old pattern. And then some of those people are wondering, who else in the world could they get in a relationship with that might feel kind of defensive and betrayed and doesn't know the truth of who they are, that they could go repeat this pattern with? And hope that person doesn't work through some of their issues and does stay in a relationship with them, making it more about them or staying in it more for the ego or the image or the status. And again, as they do that, that's what all helps you see the truth that your foundation isn't the same. And people who are going to be defensive or hurtful or unkind or not invest in you, not be truthful, not be just, not be fair, not be loving. Who wants to be in a relationship with someone like that? I'm going to let you take those ways of being to go be in a relationship with someone else. I am no longer in illusion about the truth of the person that you are. And other people who might be lovely people, but they're in other relationships, it's like, oh, damn. Oh, well, can't wait to see what God's got planned for me. Because apparently that wasn't part of the plan. And I believe God wants us to manifest what's aligned with our truth. And God ultimately knows what we want to manifest and what other people want to manifest. So if we keep listening to our intuition and we don't give up on our dreams, we could be shocked that, damn, what God had planned was so much better than I could have even imagined. Right? That's us. When we thought we were the boss and we tried to go about things, yeah, that maybe didn't quite work out so well. And God's like, how about you don't take action more out of pride and ego and lust and greed and codependency and have some hope and faith and belief and maintain balance within yourself, and I might bring you the relationship of your dreams or the life of your dreams. What's coming up for some people to harness some more worldly, shadowy Aries energy that they might not see coming? The Death card. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. So, the Death card, like the Six of Cups, is Scorpio energy. The Death card in shadow can be, some people don't want to give birth to anything new. They do, like, I want to turn my back on anything new. I like this. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep repeating this pattern. I want to keep being defensive to the truth that I should maybe love myself and put an end to letting my ego run my life and transform my life being inspired by hope and faith and belief and love. But they don't do that. And so because of that, the more high vibrational people in their life who harness these energies in a more high vibe way, who offer them truth and love and encouragement, and they keep being defensive to the truth or wanting to deal with the truth or see the truth, some of the high vibe people in their life are going to wish them peace and detach from them. They've worked through their ego about it. I can love you. I can be attracted to you. I want this dream to come into reality. I really didn't want to have to go get a different job, a different friendship, a different relationship. But I can't keep staying in a relationship that's dead or that's emotionally shallow and superficial, and it's staying in denial of the truth that it's more for the ego or the image or out of the fear or the insecurity or the defensiveness. I don't want to live my life like that. And so they get out of their ego to wish it peace And then they do this work within themselves to reconcile and work through all of it. And when they've worked through it, they're ready to go have that new beginning. And the shadowy people could be shocked because if they're so motivated or full of themselves, or because they might have a certain status or image, or they knew these people had love for them, they can't believe that those people got out of their ego about it, or not more motivated to stay in a relationship more for these ego materialistic reasons, because that always manipulates them. The world manipulates them, their ego manipulates them, their fear, their insecurity, their codependency on things and people in their life. They never work through their ego nature to love themselves. And they could always feel confused and betrayed. How did you free yourself from things that manipulate you? And because they also, pride comes before the fall, and we think we're so smart. How did you, I could have viewed as much more not like me, thinking you're like less than. How did you free yourself from all these things that manipulate you? To kind of look like a shining star who freed themselves from these issues, and now you're moving forward in this new beginning while I'm here repeating the same pattern with someone else. It's because they did the inner work to deal with the truth. And they're defensive to wanting to deal with the truth. And the truth sets you free. And they're not willing to get out of their ego to deal with the truth. And maybe detach from their own ego and their more worldly ego and other people in their life who live their life more from their ego to be more independent. And they're more codependent on the world. And ultimately, they'll maybe have people who move forward with them, and maybe some of the people they are like their core foundation are other people who live their life like that. Nobody's inspired to give birth to anything new. It's just repeating this pattern. Different people, different relationships, different jobs, but it's the same old thing. And to a degree, that's fine. We all know people and we've been there at different stages of our life. If that's what makes them happy, it's just for other people. I can't do that. And that's how the high vibe people come to peace with it. Everybody has the free will to live the life the way they want it. I can't live my life like that. It stays dead and stagnant. And part of life is to keep growing, healing, and maturing ourselves and shedding old versions of ourselves and layers of ourselves to kind of keep growing ourselves to our full potential. Facing our fears, standing up for ourselves, listening to our intuition, believing in our dreams, turning our back on repeating old patterns, and moving forward, being inspired. Because high vibe energy represented by God at the big picture wants to give birth to new things. Just like my nesting dolls over there, we shed being a 15-year-old to give birth to being more like an 18-year-old. We shed being an 18-year-old to become more of being more like a 21-year-old. And it's a process. We have layers and layers of our worldly nature to shed, hopefully learning to become more authentically ourself in the world, less manipulated, and letting the world dim our light, dim our truth, to stand up for ourselves and what we believe in, and quit making our life more about conforming to the world. And again, in Aquarius, high vibe, being a shining star in the world, which is just being a good leader. It doesn't mean you have to be amazing or fantastic. It just means you're one of those people in the world that offers truth and love and encouragement to others. Some shadowy people would be like, why would I do that? Why do I even give a damn about anybody else? Well, that would be kind of looking at life from a higher perspective. But, the more shadowy people are, the more egotistical and self-centered they are, and they want it to be all about them. I don't want those people to do better. They might outshine me. I don't want to applaud those people for a job well done, regardless of what their job is or their profession, because then other people might view them as more victorious or successful than me. It's like, oh my God, you are so petty and competitive and immature. How about we try to make the world a better place and be happy that people are overcoming hardship or strife or immaturity or pride or ego, doing a good job in the world. So it's a better place for all of us to live in. And they're like, no, because it has to be more about me. It's like, okay. So, because shadowy Aries energy about the self, which anyone can harness that regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are. There you go, Aries. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.